All right. I believe it's time to get started. How is everyone doing this fine Saturday afternoon? I see chat is lively before we even get started. You love to see it. How is everyone? Stormlight, Thunder Trash, Wolf King's in here. Nico, I knew you would make an appearance. How is everyone? Let's get some beats going. Let's get some beats, some stream beats. Oh, I know what it is. I know why I don't hear anything. I didn't have my headphones set up. Let's go. What's up? How's everybody doing? How is it? You guys ready for some DM Hotline episode 8? I love this one. There's quite a few good songs on this album. I think this is the one that I used to use at the beginning of streams. How are you? Doing okay. Doing okay. Let's see. How about some updates? But while we wait, one thing that we're doing differently. You know what? I'm gonna actually switch to chat cam. So one thing we're doing differently, if you notice, so pay attention, those of you that want in on this. I added a bot. How do I explain this? Do I go into detail? I guess while we wait, I should go into detail. So I went to another stream that had a similar situation to this one. Like you waited in a waiting room, you waited in a voice chat, and then somebody would pull you from the voice chat and put you on the stream, and then you would talk to a panel. It was pretty cool. I participated in that. And one thing that I really didn't like about it was that there was no queue. The person running it, I mean, it was great. It was fun, but the person running it didn't have a queue. And being on your side of the situation, not having a queue, not knowing when my turn was, and getting skipped, that was like, oh man, that sucks. I don't want to do that to the people that watch me, so I decided to make improvements. That's why it's important as a DM, if you're DMing. That's why it's important to be a player sometimes and kind of see what's fun and what's not, like what sucks. If only you could play with yourself. If only you could play under your own DMing. Like, I wish I could DM myself so I could be like, huh, this is fun. Like, take notes on my own DMing. What's up? What's up, Fred? How to RPG? Formerly How to D&D. How you doing? How's everybody doing? Okay, so where was I going with that? Oh, so I added a bot. So I added a bot to the waiting room. So from now on, and I also updated the instructions. So from now on, you'll join, you'll accept the rules. Let's see. All right, so you join the Discord, you'll accept the rules, you'll jump in the waiting room, and then you're gonna type /join to be put in the bot's gonna put you in the queue. I know it's an extra step, which means extra confusion for the people. Like the previous instructions were already complicated enough. Join the Discord, join the voice. I know that was difficult enough. Now we've got 2 more steps. So I know. Don't I know it? I didn't realize the stream started already. I was watching Mr. Beast cure deafness. Twitter's gonna have a field day with that. You know, I just saw a tweet about that. Mr. Beast over there performing miracles. And Twitter's like, yeah, but he's doing it. Twitter's like, yeah, but he's just doing it for clout. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Who cares why he's doing it? Could you imagine like if a doctor said that? Like, doctor, I'm deaf. Or, well, doctor, I have a problem. And the doctor's like, oh, well, I'm actually really excited about curing this problem because if I cure one more of this particular problem, I might get my name in a paper and get some recognition or whatever. You know what I would say? I'd be like, heck yes, it's good for both of us. So you can't screw this up, doc. You can't screw this up. That's what I would say. I would be like, really, you're doing this for clout? I want a second opinion. Come on now. I don't know. And it's not even, I know he's not doing it for clout, but I mean, that's just, here's another thing. Gaining clout means more eyes on the situation, right? Clout means that more people are seeing you, which means more good. If Mr. Beast donated $1 to everyone on Twitter, they'd be mad it wasn't enough. Man, that's so factual. Twitter would be like, come on, you can afford to. You're just flexing your millions. You can afford to. What am I doing? What did I do wrong here? Oh, I didn't put a link. I'm so dumb. I'm an amateur. I'm an amateur. Y'all ignore me. All right. Does anybody have anything? Listen, if nobody joins the waiting room and goes through, does this, I'm just going to answer Reddit questions because I need to do those anyway. So nobody's got anything. I'm going to hit Reddit. What's your opinion on other RPGs? Would you consider covering them? You know, the only reason I haven't really covered them is because, so I would love to talk about Vampire. I really would. I can talk about Vampire for hours. I can talk about Call of Cthulhu. I can talk about Pathfinder. I just love games, you know, video games, RPGs. I love it. I just love games. The thing is like, I have a niche. We will listen anyway. Thank you. So, for one, I'm not as familiar with those systems. Vampire, I'm pretty familiar. Vampire, I could comfortably churn out some. I could churn out some Vampire content comfortably, but I still know D&D better. The thing is, why isn't anyone else doing this? Why is this on my shoulders? I'm glad you guys like my style, but man, Vampire has I see so many people that are like, man, I want to be a content creator and I want to do stuff. It's just everything's being done. I'm like, homie, there's nobody covering Vampire the Masquerade. Can't find the way. Oh, the waiting room's private. That's on me. That's on me. I forgot. I told myself I was going to forget. I should have left a note. That's me. That's on me. All right. The waiting room is available now. The waiting room is available now. And I want to do this proper. So Reem, I just saw you join in there. Type /join in the text chat to queue up. That's on me. I'm a noob. All right, what was I talking about? So yeah, I don't know. It's like, I don't know if I want to expand that far. I'm cool with covering like homebrew. I'm cool with I'm even cool with going into Pathfinder a bit, but I feel like Pathfinder is like, that would be like a Coca-Cola content creator making Pepsi videos. Like, I mean, it's fine. I mean, I like Pathfinder, but man, no offense, Pathfinder fans, but I'm going to say this. Most of the Pathfinder player base or fan base is, how do I word this? Most of the Pathfinder player base hates D&D. It's very anti D&D. I don't think a lot of the D&D fan base is anti Pathfinder, at least not from what I've seen, but man, a lot of the people that play Pathfinder absolutely despise D&D. I'm doing a different RPG system. I can only do what I know. Plus you take a huge hit because no one watches. I mean, that is just a unique issue that only certain people have to deal with. If that's why I don't think I could ever do YouTube full time. That's why I don't think I could ever do YouTube full time. Because while I'm sitting here saying like, oh, it would be fun to make some Vampire shorts. You know, I don't want to step on anybody else's toes, but you know, Vampire shorts would be fun. Call of Cthulhu, maybe, you know, just experiment. Professional YouTubers can't do that. Like, they just can't. It's like, oh man, that's gonna tank my. If I post a if somebody else was having this conversation, be like, if I post a video about vampire, my normal viewers aren't going to watch it, which means the video's not going to do well, which means the algorithm's going to smite me, and then my bills don't get paid. Gosh, I could never. Lord help me. I couldn't handle that. If I was like just forced to make a specific kind of content, Lord help me. I'd stick around for any content. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, there's some people that are just, you know, that are just cool with it, whatever. And I love you folks. But a lot of people that watch specific channels just put title as D&D, but talk about vampires. That's an option. All right, let me check the queue here. Looks like first up is Reem. I remember you, Reem. Let's have a conversation. All right, you guys ready for the first hotline call? You need to do your thing, Steely. This gets hard otherwise. I believe it. Fred, you're welcome to hop in here and have a conversation with me if you like. Free to hop in here and have a chat if you want. Talk about D&D or whatever. All right, Reem, you're up. Let's hit it. Let's do it. Let's get started. Dungeon Master Hotline.
Well, hello.
How are you doing? What you got? I'm muted. You fool. I was muted. What you got for me?
Well, this time I only have 2 questions. After last time, some of the internet really humbled me.
Some of the internet really humbled you?
Yeah.
Man.
Some of the comments. One of the comments was real wild. Like, dude really said, "I'm the fan, DM." It's yeah.
Oh, you went into the comments section.
Yeah, I made that mistake just now.
You did it. Oh.
I kind of forgot this is also like part of the thing is being in a video. But yeah, that's on me.
I should, you know, that's partly on you, but some of that's on me. I should put a disclaimer. Like, you should know, those of you that are joining that you're being streamed to people, and comment sections sometimes are not nice.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. You know, I stand by my words anyway. You know, we're learning here.
I think you were fine. I didn't. I mean, and like, like, the purpose of this is to help. So, like, it's awesome of people to come in here and like be okay with asking for help. And I'm not perfect. I'm just giving advice. But, you know, mad props to the people that come in here.
Yeah. Well, I have 2 questions. One is more generic. How do I do this better? And one is more campaign specific. I think we should start with the more generic one.
Whatever you're feeling, bud.
All right. So currently my players are going through this sort of arc where they are dealing with a bunch of shady mafia kind of thing, of this corrupt nature of the city kind of vibe. Think a mix of Batman, V for Vendetta, and a bunch of Feywild stuff.
Okay.
Now, the thing is, I love my players, and with how much I love them, they generally tend to do the MMO kind of thing of beelining to the closest goal, like speedrunning quests. So I'm not sure how to essentially build the obstacles and the connections between members of the or the inner politics of stuff in a way that's gonna be actually meaningful to them, or if maybe I should put that aspect behind, if or what to do essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me an example of something that they're doing. You said they just beeline straight for the quest. So they get the quest. It's like, all right, let's do it. Give me an example.
All right. Currently, some certain things have happened. A powerful person who's also part of one of the players' backstory. After going missing, they made a deal with an archfey to bring her back, but there was a caveat in this sort of contract that they didn't expect. So now she's essentially a walking, living, frozen statue until they can manage to free her using a MacGuffin. Meanwhile, her absence was used by another guild who is also essentially the biggest mafia now, to claim what was once her territory, and so the territory that was ruled by an archmage that they defeated in their last quest. So the person was so now the mafia controls the most of the town, and they know it's ran by a mysterious guy named Don Hancho. I know, very
Time out.
original.
Time out real quick.
Yeah.
What is so when I said an example, I mean an example of what they did, not an example of a quest.
All right. Essentially, they know that there's this Don Hancho. They know it exists. They do not really know where it is. And they know a bunch of stuff goes missing. So it's not really a bunch of. All right, we know they exist here, here, and here. Let's try an investigation. Maybe find something. They go to the zone. See the first person who looks high ranking. Not sure how the system works. They just bet that they either give information or die. All right, we know he's in that zone. It's very vague, but we'll just go there and try and see if we find that one hideout thing. We're not sure where it even is. We'll go there and we'll find it from there. Half a continent away.
Okay. So what would you have liked them to do?
Well, the mafia is in control of most of the city. They do not know even the basics of their organization. I personally would have liked them to essentially maybe try and study. The rogue has a special dagger that allows them to use essentially versions of alter self on enemies they used. They could have maybe they have a bunch of ways to infiltrate, to both infiltrate, study from far away, try and mix in and interrogate a few people to try and cross various testimonies and try and get a more precise location. And what they actually did was go for the first person they saw, brute force their way through that one, and they say we'll brute force the entire thing later, half a continent away after traveling the entire thing.
Okay. So have you ever been playing a game, a video game, and they give you a quest, but how do I word this? Have you ever been playing a video game and they give you a quest, but you're not sure what to do with the quest?
Yeah.
So you've been playing a game and then you like quest accept, hey, do this and then you accept the quest and it's like, okay, so where do I go?
Yeah, I played Warcraft before.
Oh, yeah. So Warcraft is a great example. So a lot of the times with Warcraft, if you're not sure where to go, you'll just follow the marker. It's like, okay, yeah. I don't know where to go, but this marker's telling me to go here. So I'm just going to go there. Right? Yeah. We've all done it. I know we've all done it. Sometimes you just accept the quest. It's like, okay, the marker says go there, so I'm going to go there. Whenever you tell your players something, anything that's a location that's not where they currently are, that is a marker telling them to go there. I want you to treat that like it's a marker telling them to go there.
All right.
Because if you say the bad guys are in this area, like, you know what? Let me go back to Warcraft. Let me go back to the Warcraft example. I want you to imagine there's a quest in Warcraft. I'm just going to create just a hypothetical quest. I want you to imagine there's a quest in Warcraft. You're in town and some orc is like, hey, I need help with something. You accept the quest and the marker tells you to go to the other side of the continent, but the quest requires you to talk to people that are around you. Did I explain that well enough? The marker is telling you to go to the other side, but the requirements for the quest say talk to these NPCs.
It's like that one quest that's like, oh, walk to the cathedral, get that weapon, but it's actually the dungeon in Silverpine.
There's several examples of quests where it's like, hey, I need you to go into this crypt and do this. And then when you get there, it's like, did you bring the torch? It's like, oh, I didn't read that part. I have to bring a torch. So the lesson here is that you need to make your markers the things that they need, the things that they should go to. And
Right.
to make it not so railroady, to make it not feel so railroaded, give them options. So if you want them to investigate these thieves, I want you to think of ways to gather information. Talk to NPCs, go to the library and gather NPCs, go to the prison and question a prisoner that's a member of this gang. All of these can be different skill checks. Every single one of these can be different skill checks.
Now, the thing is, here's what I tried to do. The first thing I did, as far as maybe talking to NPCs, is that another NPC who's in control of the only tavern in town, they were actually indebted to them, and they had the ability to get one wild card for a piece of information that NPC can know and give to them. That was my first idea.
And did they
And
do it?
I made the mistake of giving them this in the form of a one-time use coupon, which one of the players gave to the love interest. So that went out the window in the way that I least expected somehow.
You got to
Which that's
improv.
something I should have. Yeah. So then I work by the 3 clues method. I give them three options essentially, and from them I try and improvise what I can. So the second thing is, they killed a member of the gang before, and the rogue with his dagger that allows him to transform himself into a bit of a greater version of outer self. Could have put on the costume of a mafia member and trying to understand that and go from there. Maybe do
I
a bunch of deception checks and try and find information.
I definitely want you to, if you have ideas for your players like that, you should tell them. Maybe not directly, but you should at least hint at it.
I could suggest, like, I'm thinking maybe you could try this.
Yeah, like sometimes I'll just flat out say these are your options. Which one are you feeling? If you could, like sometimes I'll tell them these are your options. Literally, you could go to the library and gather information. You could talk to specific NPCs. If there's an NPC that you like, you can talk to one of them. The prison that you've heard of a prisoner in the prison that you could talk to questions. You could or ask questions. You could do your example where they dress up. You could just like lay out all these, and then you can cap that off with a but if you've got a more interesting idea, like if the party has a more interesting idea, I'd love to hear it. That kind of thing. So that presents
Oh, wow.
this situation where it's okay, we know what we can do. We can lean on that in case we don't have any ideas. Like there's like think about it for a second. It's like, okay, well, we know what we can do, but what if I want to do this? Right? You're not telling them flat out this is the only thing you can do. These are just some options. That way, if they don't have any creative ideas for this specific scenario, they can just go with the defaults.
Oh, that's a really cool idea, actually. That's a really cool line, saying like you can do this, and this, but if you have a greater idea, like it's really cool. Like I like it.
Try it.
I'll add it to my DM toolbox.
Try it.
Thank you very much for that one, Sam.
It's a breath of fresh air when a DM tells you like, here's some stuff that you could try that I've planned for, but like here's what I planned for when you got this quest. You can sneak into the castle. You can charge headfirst into the castle. You can go underground and burrow, or you got something else. Let's hear it. That kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes my players ask things, then forget they ask them. So I planned it like they were like, "That's a really cool thing that I think we could investigate. I really want to investigate the tavern's basement because we know there's a suspicion of cannibalism and stuff like that. So you'll make the entire thing. You'll be given the perfect moment to go in, and they'll be like, "Oh wait, I forgot I wanted to do that. Never mind." Uh, you know, I improvise. I do what I can. Sometimes you get stuck in a tough spot. Like I will say, improvising. Well, I'm not necessarily bad at it. Sometimes the stress. Damn
Anything
it!
else?
Damn it! Yeah, there is. Political intrigue and stuff like that. I know how to build lore. I know how to build stuff like that. I know how to build various NPCs and make the connections. How do I build a political system? Especially ones that's built on various courts and where there's a hierarchy between them, one under the others.
Whew, man, D&D is not the system for this, but if you absolutely have to build a political system, for the first thing, you're out of your element here, man. This isn't a question that I could answer in a reasonable amount of time.
Then I'll give it a more specific question under that topic. Maybe that will help.
Sure.
All right. Generally, the entire game is supposed to be around the players. They are the main characters. They get to experience things, so the focus and flair should be on them. A complex political system, you know, there's gonna be holidays, there's gonna be stuff like that. What are your go-to ideas to make that to center the players and fill them in on lore without lore dumping too heavily on them? That will allow them to get a more clear picture of the things that are going on around them.
Well, the way that I do it is I don't make complicated stories so that what's going on around them isn't. So imagine being in a scenario like a Disney movie or something, and the players are finding information about it. It's like, okay, well, this is what's going on. There's a werewolf in the castle that's kidnapped the princess, and there's a bunch of animated objects. Like, okay, that's simple. Like, you could spit that out. But if you start trying to explain really elaborate plots, like they're in Game of Thrones, and it's like, well, there's a queen, but she's in a relationship with someone else, but there's a king, and there's some other kings that are trying to fight, and their family, and there's some, like, you can sit there for hours. So
Yeah.
the way to do it is to simplify what's going on around them.
Yeah.
Don't create these
way
elaborate
that
plots.
things, for me, the way that I at least build my stuff to try and not make it too complicated is essentially you have, all right, so this castle, there's a werewolf, he kidnapped the princess, that's fine. There's this other castle, and say there's another Disney movie, like this one, the princess, the older one, discovered frost powers, and things are going sideways. So essentially, at the end, you're left with like 5 to 10 of these castles that are all they're affecting one another. So, yeah, that's just generally the way I get to these positions.
All right. Well, I want to get to the next caller.
Fair enough. I'll keep watching the stream. Thank you, Sam. You
Thank
really
you,
helped me
bud.
today.
Good. See you next time.
See ya.
All right, who's next? Dr. S. Oh, by the way, real quick, those of you that are in the waiting room, another great thing about this queue is that you don't have to wait in the waiting room. I'm not going to lock, you don't have to be locked in the waiting room. What's going to happen is as I'm wrapping up whoever I'm talking to, I'm going to message you. I need to remember to do that. But if I don't message you, I'll just call out like, hey, Dr. S, it's your turn. And then I'll give you a few minutes to jump in, and I'll message you directly. So another reason I'm doing the queue is so you don't have to wait you don't have to sit in the waiting room quietly waiting on your turn. I will message you directly. But Dr. S, I see that you're in there, so let's get you in. Dungeon Master Hotline.
Hello, can you hear me?
I hear you.
Wonderful. So, kind of building off on the previous question. My
Sure.
situation facing is a player's choice is now causing tensions with the party.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, well, it may be my fault because this is a new player that I added to an ongoing campaign. So,
New player added to an ongoing campaign, and this new player's caused a rift with a decision?
yeah, it's probably building from a bunch of smaller things, but it's kind of come to a head, and now I'm looking for advice on how I should address this. I can tell you kind of how it all started. Effectively, the party was tasked with storming a cathedral full of cultists. They managed to do a really good job sneaking up right up to the cathedral, and they began to kind of plan on like how they're going to cause a distraction, how they're going to sneak in and access a passage that was hidden in the cathedral. They got pretty much into the cathedral. Everyone was there, set up. The rogue managed to sneak in fine behind the altar, etc., etc. The wizard gets in, sees a bunch of cultists, and, if this sounds familiar, casts Fireball, alerting everyone to their position. As you can imagine, the rest of the party kind of had a stealth approach, and they had planned this out for like 20 to 30 minutes after reaching the cathedral on how it wanted to go, and it all went up literally in flames. That's fine, because I'm fine with having players just choose what they want to do, etc.
Sure.
But when the rest of the party is now irked and they haven't communicated this to the new player because, it's a new player, they don't want to offend them, they don't want to chase them off. At the same time, it needs to be discussed, and I'm looking for just general advice on that.
Sure. So what are they upset about? Specifically?
The fact that they got into a fight that was unnecessary that is now going to follow them into the secret passage towards what effectively is a large encounter. They are now pinned between two forces of two large groups of cultists.
Okay. If it's causing a rift within the if something like that happens in a game, in my game, I will the quick and dirty answer is to just Deus Ex Machina. Just fix it. Like something shows up, something happens. The other way, a little more elegant of a solution is to give the player that messed up the chance to fix it. Give them the opportunity to fix it. I don't know what class are they?
Wizard.
Okay. So wizard, you got a lot of options. So what you could do. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to pick a spell that could get them out of the situation. I want you to put a scroll in the room that they're currently in, or the next room, somewhere within range, with that spell on it. Mm-hmm. Or a spell book, even with a couple of spells. Maybe invisibility could get them out of it. Maybe a dimension door, a straight teleport, something like that. Teleport. We'll go with the teleport example. So put a scroll of teleport in there.
All right.
So what I want you to do, or as a suggestion, you don't have to do it specifically this way, is I want you to create the opportunity for the wizard to fix the situation. Like, oh, I got us into this mess. I'm going to get us out of it. So you as the DM put a teleport scroll in there, or some kind of scroll, some kind of magical or magic item, something that the wizard can identify and use to get them out of the situation. It could be a summon. They could summon a big monster, and now that's like a thing that they get. Like if they get a summon spell, it's like, oh, I get to add this summon spell to my spell list. Now I have a stronger spell. I've improved, and now the party can benefit from this improvement, and I can also save us from the situation I got us in. We're pinned between these two groups of monsters. I find this summon monster. I'm going to summon this monster. We get to see how awesome it is. It's a big golem or something, or a dragon, whatever, some kind of summon. It shows up, completely wipes out one of the groups while the party deals with the other group. The day is saved. Thank you, wizard. You've redeemed yourself. The wizards redeemed themselves. The party's out of the situation. The wizard got more powerful, got a cool thing out of it. So it all worked out in the end. I want you to create a scenario like that. That's what I would do. Create a scenario like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think I might do something with Wall of Force, actually.
Wall of Force works too. Teleport to get them straight out of it. The summon. Invisibility, the sneak past. There's like a ton of spells. Just fix it with magic.
Effectively. The plan was invisibility originally, but they went for Fireball. I can't blame them for that, though. All right, well, that's it then. Thank you.
All right, you have a good one. That was a fun. Okay, so I have to take back what I said. Speaking of fixing mistakes, oh my gosh, Phoenofox, I've missed you. And you're just popping in to say, hey, are you leaving? That's sad. I've missed you, Phoenofox. I'm happy to have you back in here. So I was wrong. I thought the bot would keep you in the queue. I'm going to have to look and see if there's a way around this. You have to stay in the voice chat in order to stay in the queue, unfortunately. I'm sorry, Wolf King. Wolf King, go ahead and come back. Bloom, you're up next. I see you in the voice chat, Bloom. We'll do Bloom, Nico. I believe Nico was before Wolf. I screwed. I'm sorry, Wolf. So I'm gonna do Bloom, Nico, Wolf. I hope you don't mind, Wolf. I don't think I've talked to Bloom in here yet. My man. Dungeon Master Hotline. How can I help you?
You gotta mute your stream. Hold on.
Sure.
So this is kind of a complicated question.
I'm ready.
It's something that just happened. I was just playing D&D, and it was a problem that I just ran into. But it brought up other questions that I also have later. But the situation is, so the thing that makes it complicated is the problem that I'm having with one of my players. He's also my roommate, which complicates the situation. So if I get a little quiet, I don't want to like offend him or anything.
Sure.
He's here right now. So what happened was I do random encounters when they're traveling, and they encountered they're level 3, and they encountered skulks, which I was flipping through the book. My campaign's is going to be Shadowfell based. They're still pretty low level, so it's not like they haven't really realized that everything's rooted in the Shadowfell yet.
Okay.
But flipping through the book when they were traveling through the desert and ran into Skulk, and I was like, oh, this is a great enemy for them to fight. CR 1/2.
Okay.
And they're level 3, so I was like, I know CR is like terrible, so I made that mistake of trusting the CR system of Dungeons and Dragons, and was like, okay, they're CR 1/2. I'll use 4 of them, and they killed 2 of my party members, and my roommate got really upset because he was one of the ones that died. And I don't think he's going to make a new character, but like, that's like, how do I deal with situations like that? And the other question was, how do I balance my random encounters? Like, still have random encounters that make it feel like it's a living world while still making them more balanced so that I don't have to find a CR in the book.
Okay. Let's start with balancing encounters. The best way to balance your encounters is to pay close attention to how much damage your party can dish out and how your party uses their characters. Like, it's essential. This is why I advocate so strongly for recording your games, streaming them, not necessarily, but definitely recording them, and just watch your games and pay close attention to how your players are using their characters. What spells does the wizard use? What spells do they take? What are they prepping every day? How much damage can they dish out? How do they play the game? The more you know about how they play, because it's usually pretty consistent, right? I mean, they don't have a whole lot of options when combat starts. Like, it's usually pretty consistent. The rogue is gonna, if they're using a bow, they're gonna keep using the bow. They're gonna hang back. Like, when I'm playing a rogue, it's like, okay, I'm gonna find a good vantage point. I'm gonna hide behind a corner, pop out, and shoot my bow, get my sneak attack. That's like my style. Once you have a good idea of their play style and what they're capable of, you can start building encounters around that really accentuates how they use their characters, and you can choose monsters based off of the numbers and what the monsters are capable of. If you know that your party can do roughly 50 damage in a round, then you can choose a monster with 100 health, and it'll last 2 rounds, roughly, depending on AC, and you can factor that in as well. So that's how I build encounters.
The problem with this particular monster that I ran into, they could have easily, like, they have 18 health, and my party consists of a wizard, a owlin that has a gun, so a flyer with a gun, and a cleric.
Okay.
So they could have easily taken them. The damage wasn't the problem. The problem was they couldn't see them because they're invisible. And I didn't think of the fact that there wasn't really a way for them to deal with it. And my cleric was smart. My cleric player was smart. They immediately casted Turn Undead. I looked at the book and realized they're not undead. They're invisible, but they're not undead. They're monstrosities.
Okay.
And like, I don't want to change rules mid-battle because I want there to still be stakes, and I want character death to be possible, but I also want my encounters to be balanced.
Okay. I mean, you can't fix what happened. That you got to know the monster's abilities. If you see invisibility on there, like when a monster has more than just run up and swing, you want to pay really close attention to what it is that they can do. If it's a monster that can go invisible, that's something that's big.
they're always invisible. But I was able to do something cool with them where once one of my players went down immediately, so one of their weaknesses with it, you can see them in reflections. So they started seeing them in the reflections of the blood.
There you go. That's a really good way to come back. Like that's a really good way.
And then obviously after the other two players went down, the Owlin just flew up in the air and just started shooting until all of them were dead. So it wasn't a TPK because they don't have any range. So the Owlin just flew up in the air and watched their reflections, just killed them all.
Okay.
But then the Owlin was able to carry one of the players back, and then my roommate had been eaten by one of the enemies, and so she left him behind, and it was just her. Their horses had been killed, so she flew up in the air and tried to take one of them with them, and it got him revived. So my roommate got really upset about it. So the other problem I was having is he gets really angry when there's a chance his character will die. And I don't know how to handle that either.
So that last part again, you don't know how to handle what?
My roommate gets angry when his character could die, and he did die. So I don't think he's going to continue playing, which is like something I'd still like to play with him if he will still play, but I don't know how to help because he gets angry when his character could die. But I want there to still be stakes in the game. I want player death to be possible.
So there's nothing. Your player doesn't want to lose their character, understandably, and you want there to be a possibility that they can lose their character. One of you is going to have to give. There's no one of you's got to give. You can't move forward. You're not going to be able to move forward with those two things.
That makes sense.
I personally will always, whenever I'm building an encounter, I try to keep TPKs in mind for every encounter that I build, especially if it's a monster that I'm unfamiliar with. I will always try to plan for a TPK. If the party's about to get ambushed with some monsters, I'll go ahead and factor in like, okay, if a TPK happens in this fight, I will say that the monsters are going to tie them up and bring them here, and I'll have a location where the party will wake up. If the players die in this scenario, they're going to spend the rest of the session as a ghost. I will add a scroll of raised dead, so in case somebody dies, like there's a really risky encounter coming up, I'm going to add a puzzle right before it that gives them the opportunity to get a scroll of raised dead. That way, if somebody drops, they can get right back up. And at a certain point, your party's going to have enough gold where they'll be able to buy resurrections. Like death is just a tax. At a certain point, death will just be a tax. At least in mine. That's how I run it.
That was the good thing about where they were going. The remaining player had to get themselves exhausted, but where they were going, there was going to be high-level clerics anyways. So they were able to take one of the bodies to the clerics and revive one of the two player characters. So I was able to help salvage the situation a little bit.
That's good.
But
yeah. And so this is a situation that has crossed out of game. I would sit down with the player and say, look, I want to run a game where death is possible. Maybe we can work something out where like I can give us one free res. Like I'll add a scroll in the next adventure that the party will have to earn. That will give us one free res if that's okay. Like just communicate with him, have a back and forth with him.
Yeah, he was the issue I was running. This isn't the first time he's died, and I gave him a freebie last time because they were had a boss fight. And he's playing a wizard and hasn't been able to get far enough away from the fight. So hopefully if he plays again, he won't only just play again, but maybe play a character if he's going to be close in the battle, play a character that can take more hit points.
Well, I'm going to be 100% blunt with you. The party's level 3 and he's died twice. This won't be the last time that he dies, and one of you is going to have to change your mind. One of you are going to have to change your mind, or like that's just real talk. You're gonna have to put more gold in the rewards so that the party can afford raised dead, or give them options for resurrection, or you're gonna have to talk to that person and say, hey, listen, you're gonna lose your character eventually. That's just
all right.
the game I'm running.
All right, appreciate it, Steely.
Take it easy, Bloom. Oh, by the way, there's somebody in the chat asking about you opening Pokemon cards. That sounds like you. That's you, right?
I mean, I haven't opened Pokemon cards in a while.
Okay. All right, you take it easy. I'm gonna move on to Nico. Beast Kid. If this guy does Pokemon cards, yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I know his channel. His channel is like focused on YouTube or on Pokemon stuff. All right, who did I say was? I think I said I was going to do Nico and then Wolf King. Wolf King, you're up next, bud. After Nico. Nico. Dungeon Master Hotline. How can I help you?
How are you, Steely?
What's up? What you got for me this week?
Yeah, celebrity. Anyway, so this week I've run into an issue that had hoped and prayed to Talos I would never run into. A problem player. So, one of the players that I am playing with in one of my games is, well, they're young, so obviously they make the most chaotic characters they can make, do mostly evil acts and call it chaotic neutral. That typical thing. And I did confront them about this, and the other players do want them gone, but I feel like I guess swayed them to try and not be that much of a problem at the table. The other players are like pushing for remove him, and I'm trying to be like, I think, because this has never happened with this player before, I think we should at least give him this next game, this next chance. And if not, okay. I just don't know if I'm being too lenient or nice with this specific player, because I've known them for like over a year.
Okay. It's time to have the talk. It's time to have the talk. There will come a time in every DM's life where they will be faced with a difficult person. Happens to all of us. Could be your coworker, could be your spouse, your significant other, family member, that uncle that you dread to see at reunions. And those people exist to make your life more difficult. So what do you do? How do you change a person? A person changes. A person does not change. People do not change from external sources. Or an external force does not change a person. Can't do it. All change happens internally. You're probably thinking like, no, traumatic events can cause people to change. I've seen it. Wrong. It is how people internalize events that causes them to change. All mental change happens internally. And all of you are probably thinking, this is getting awfully philosophical. Are we still talking about D&D? No, we're not talking about D&D because this is not a D&D question. You cannot change them, Nico. You can't. Problems. The words that you say to them, they need to be open to change before they'll change. They need to be open to the idea. Nothing. I can't tell you anything that you can say. Nothing I say to you. I can change you because you're open to the idea of being changed. You've joined, you've waited in the waiting room, you've joined the voice chat, you're asking me, Steely, how do I handle this? That is an example of reflection. Like, I want to change. What do I need to do? That's you taking on someone else's responsibility, by the way. Nothing I say is gonna fix it. Like, I can't change. Nothing I tell you is gonna change this person. Nothing you say is gonna change this person. It has to happen internally. They have to be willing to change. Is the point that I'm trying to make. So, What does this mean? You got to cut them. You got to do it. Especially if your party is for. Especially if your party, your mic went merp. Your microphone merped? Or my microphone merped? Can you guys hear me? Chat? Nico? My mic. Oh, your mic went merp. My mic. Okay, I see it. My mic merp. Whoops. Can't hear? Okay. My degree's in psychology and I have counseling training. Steely is right. You can't change another person. Nice. So, just as Muse said, you got to sit down and you got to talk to him. And you have to talk to him. That's it. That's all you can do. You have to talk to him. You have to be upfront. Like, listen, this, you have to identify specifically. Don't be vague. You got to be specific. This is what you're doing, and we don't like it. Here's why we don't like it. And they have to be willing to internalize what you're saying. If they're not, got them. You got to do it. You have to. Well, you don't have to, but the alternative is it's going to keep happening. That's what I'm getting at. So, as I said, that's not a D&D question. That's an interpersonal question. It's got D&D. It's got some D&D fluff around it. It's got D&D. It's flavored. It's D&D flavored, but that is an interpersonal question. You can't change them unless they're willing to internalize. They need to be the one that's in here asking, what can I do differently? Am I making, like, are y'all picking up what I'm putting down? Like, does that make sense? Am I getting my point across? Oh, I hope so. I hope you guys are understanding. Like, you can't change a person. I don't have an agree.
The thing is, like,
go ahead.
The rest of the party, like, is kind of trying to push me to go. For him to go, I mean. But I want to at least, like, because I do see a sliver of, after I talk to him, okay, this might be like it.
Okay.
It's just everyone else is basically just done. And I do want to give him, like, at least this one last session to, like, prove that the BS is done.
I hope it works out. Let me know how it goes.
Can you hear me properly?
I hear you, yeah.
Yeah. Like, the other players are pushing for get him out the game. I, at the very least, want to give him this next session to see if they are right about the BS being done.
I'm going to be honest, Nico. I'm going to be honest. How do I say this? I love a redemption arc. I really do. But you're causing more problems than solving. You now have the difficult job of not only changing this person who is a problem player, you also have to change the minds of the party that wants them gone. At a certain point, you just gotta. At a certain point, man, something's got to give, right? The reason I say you got to change, them, the party, is because the party wants them gone. Like, the party has already made up their mind. The party has gotten to the point where they have internalized the problems, the trauma. Trauma has happened. The party has internalized it, and they have all come to an agreement that they have to go. And you know this because they've approached you and said, "Hey, this person's got to go." So now, not only do you have to change the person, that change also has to change the players. Because if enough is enough, like if your significant other has had enough, I'm tired of, he won't take out the trash, he won't do the dishes, he won't put the toilet seat down. Enough is enough. I'm breaking up with him tonight. That person could change right away, wouldn't make a difference. So, yeah. You've got your work cut out for you, Nico. Let me know how it goes.
Yeah. It's something I had hoped I would never come across in my DM experience, but here we is.
It never gets easier. Go ahead and tell you that. Anything else for me, Nico?
I guess the last question, which is not as major and could probably be answered fairly shortly, is there at least a considerable threshold when you could start doing pay to play and DMing for those pay to play games? Because situations.
What threshold?
Like, I guess in DM expertise is a way of putting it.
How good is good enough to charge for your game? Is that the question, Nico? How good of a DM do I have to be to charge for my game? You know how to answer this question? I'm going to ask you a question. How good does a game have to be worth buying? How do you answer that question? If you're on Steam and you're browsing the games, how do you know if a game is worth it? You don't. You just got to trust the developer, right? Hopefully this game is finished. So what I would do, the way that I get through this, the way that I absolve myself of guilt, I guess, is I have all of the games that I run publicly available on my YouTube. Hundreds, over 1,000 hours of my DMing style of the games that I run are available on YouTube. So anyone who wants to pay me, if I decide to charge people for my games, I will make it publicly known that this is how I run D&D. This is how I run. This is my product. This is what I do. So I wash my hands of anything. If you are unhappy with my DMing style, I wash my hands of it. I'm sorry that we didn't get along. I'm sorry, but I do not feel guilty for taking your money. So my suggestion would be to advertise, would be to create a catalog of your style. Create a catalog so that people can view it. Imagine going to the Steam page and all you have is a game. Like, imagine you open up Steam and you're like, okay, I'm looking for a game. And you go to a game that has no screenshots, no video, no art, just a title. You're not buying it. So you need to decorate your product. Man, we're getting awfully we're way past D&D with these questions, Nico. We're way past D&D. We're talking about marketing and philosophy. I hope they help.
Yeah. And that's where my life is being. Gotta be more foot down, I guess. Well,
absolutely. All right, Nico.
Yeah. Other than that, ain't really got much. Just actually, I probably should get to typing up this thing for Sunday.
Yes, you should.
And after that, I got nothing else. Stay cool, Sam.
You too, bud.
Stay cool, chat. Best chat. Yeah.
Later.
See you later.
Best chat 2023. Machiavelliotto. New to D&D, started DM for the first time after playing 2 months. How do you overcome the anxiety of the party will like the game you run? That sounds like a DM hotline question. You should jump in the voice chat or go to the Reddit and ask that question. But I'll give you a brief answer. Fail over and over again until you succeed. Like with any skill, DMing is a skill. You have to hone it. You have to refine your skill. You can't pick up a guitar and start playing, some complicated song. You can't play Through the Fire and Flames right away. You got to play Mary Had a Little Lamb. You have to play Enter Sandman, and then you got to work your way up. So you're going to have to fail. You're going to have to do it over and over again. It's going to suck. You just got to accept that. Any skill takes time. You can't expect to run out on the ball field after 3 days of practice and you can't expect an audience, what's the word? You got what I'm saying. You got to hone this. You got to practice the skill. In order to practice the skill, you have to fail. Except if the dungeon master is Doctor Doom. Yeah, I need to ask. I need to read. Question, what do players need to complete? Why are you guys asking me questions in chat? All right, Wolf King's up. Listen, if you got a question for DM Hotline, I want to answer the chat. We need the Reddit needs to be more lively. How many red flags can I allow a PC to do before kicking them off my game? Why are y'all asking me questions? I gotta stop asking. I gotta stop answering these. Ask it in Reddit or ask it in the hotline. Quick answer. It depends on the red flag. If you're, I don't want to be too. If the red flag is that they cheat, like sometimes they cheat on a roll, like maybe they cheat a death save, that's a forgivable red flag. That's like, you keep an eye on them. Like, all right, look, I get that you don't want your character to die, but stop fudging your die rolls. All right, you got a 9. Take the hit. But if they like, oh, I beat up 3 old ladies on my way to the session, so the cops might show up, cover for me. That one's like, that one might cross a line. You might want to kick that one at that point. So it just depends on the flag. Wolf King, get in here. Let's talk. Wolf King, what you got for me? Or excuse me, Dungeon Master Hotline. How can I help you? Wolf King, you're muted, bud. I want to talk to you, but you got to unmute.
Hello?
Hey, there you are.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was going to throw it to my PlayStation, but I'm not allowed to do that. I'm out.
Rip.
So, I have a question. So, I took upon what you said last week, and I started looking towards the story on what I'm doing for my whole campaign to sum it all up. The party is taking place in a world that's being sieged by mind flayers.
Okay.
They were woken up from the dead because a journal that has been basically a huge battery for the gods to power anything they want to has been stolen from the land of the dead, where it is supposed to be kept, an area no mortal may enter. They plan to use this journal to supercharge the breeding of the mind flayers, so that they could conquer all realms, not just the one they're in. The party's been thrown back. They've been trying to conversate with the god of the dead to get more information, but every line of communication has been cut off to them. And in last session, they got to watch the city that they woke up in are now being sieged by the mind flayers. I've installed basically a dagger into the world to go find. It's pretty easy to find, but they haven't got to that point yet. But after last session, I saw the way the party was using their creative junction to get out of the situations, and I felt that they need an ally, somebody they can call upon in a moment of need, you know?
Okay.
And I have summed it down to 2 things they would want to stop a mind flayer infestation: werewolves and vampires. Vampires would want to protect their lineage, and they know, mind flayers don't really do buddy-buddy relationships. So they would have an interest in helping the party, because the party are the only people that seem to be immune to the mind flayers around them. And I'm not talking like immune from their attacks, but immune from being used. So
Okay.
I'm trying to decide which faction should I give them. I don't want to, put them in a position where they feel like their roles don't matter, like with the werewolves. But I also don't want them to immediately want to fight what I throw in their face. The werewolves at least have a charming side to them. They catch you in the daylight, they're not really there to fight.
So your question is, you want me to decide werewolves or vampires for you? Is that your
question? No, I just want your opinion on, the possibilities of what I could see.
There is an entire species of creature whose sole purpose, their existence, is about hunting and killing mind flayers. They're called the Gith.
Gith?
Gith.
See, I didn't know those existed. Nobody's mentioned them to me, so good. I didn't know those were the thing. I'm kind of still new. I'm DMing because it's either me or nobody.
I did a short on Gith. I will send it to you if you want a 1 minute
Yes.
explanation. Looks like Jordan did a video on Gith. 6 minute video on Gith.
All right.
Yeah. Look up the Gith. GITH. I don't have the link in front of me. Jordan did one though. I trust Jordan. Get 6 minutes of lore from Gith or my short or both. Gith Yankee specifically. Well, I mean, they both hate mindful. Either of them. Either of the Gith. But yeah, check those out.
All right. Cool. Yeah, I just like to come and talk sometimes because, if I'm doing something, I'd like, if an idea sounds bad, I like to be told, that's a really bad idea.
Sure. I mean, I don't hate your idea. Putting a friendly faction in there, it's a great idea. I mean, and I love vampires. But yeah, Gith, GITH. Check them out.
All right. Cool. I'm about to look them up right now.
Enjoy. Got anything else for me?
No, that's it. I usually I'll pop in when I can to ask questions what I need.
Hey, thanks for coming by.
Thank you for helping me be a better DM.
Absolutely. Later, bud.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Frickin' Doom. Should I talk to Dr. Doom? I don't know. I feel like I'll need Reed Richards with me. All right, let's do this. Dr. Doom. What you got for me, bud? DM hotline. Doom. I bet your question is awesome. I bet your question is something like, I'm just gonna speculate on Doom's question since he's not talking. Doom wants to know hypothetically if there's a way to reverse the effects of spatial radiation on specific scientists. And the answer, Dr. Doom, is depends on the DM. Let me rejoin on mobile. All right, I'll wait. Hypothetically, if I'm up against an enemy who has the ability to stretch and they are super genius, how would I approach that? And while we're on the subject, how do I get in a good movie? How do I get portrayed well in a all right, yeah. You know what? This final answer. This is Doom's question. How do I get portrayed well in a movie? That's Dr. Doom's question. All right, Dr. Doom, let's do this. Let's see what your actual question is. DM hotline. How can I help you?
There we go. Hey, man, can you hear me?
I hear you.
Hey, man. Thanks for taking the question, Sam. So this one's going to be... Okay, so I've been DMing for a little over 10 years now. I'm pretty experienced. Most of my experience is in high fantasy settings. This time around, we wanted to change things up, and we decided to go with an alternate history Wild West America, right? We make it a techno, and I want to. The whole arc of the story is the ideas of what is freedom and liberty. What does that mean for individuals? What does that mean for an entire country, right? So we're touching on some really sensitive topics in early American history. Specifically, the one that I have in mind is between Asian and Native American cultures, right? It's this very sensitive subject for a lot of the players at my table. And man, it feels like I'm just weaving this thread as delicately as I can, trying to push limits, but also not trying to offend people at the table. But it's exceedingly hard when you have some kind of one-for-ones, war forged in place of Chinese railroad workers, for example. What kind of tips can you give me as a DM to allow me to touch on subjects like that are sensitive, both racially and historically, without crossing that line.
All right. So here's the thing about the line is if you don't know where it is, you're going to keep tiptoeing it until you cross it. So communicate with so that's the first thing. Like right away, if you don't know where that line is, you don't want to find it. You don't want to find the line. You want to know where that line is specifically. You want to map, draw, you want to label it. You want to mark it. You know how those people come out your property and they'll mark it like, hey, this is where your property ends. You need to know exactly where that line is so you can avoid it. So that is a conversation to have with your players. First thing, let's go. Conversation to have with the players. Wherever that line is, just take like 2 or 3 steps back from it.
Okay. Good rule of thumb.
Yeah, and that's really it. Yeah, that's really like what else? What else can we? All right, let me get your thoughts on that first, and then while I formulate more.
Okay.
Tell me what you're thinking of that.
I mean, yeah, that's. I mean, it's definitely good rule of thumb advice, but like as the DM, man, like I just wanna push those limits. Like I want to see how far we could take it. Like I think that there's a meaningful story to be had there, and obviously I don't want it to be like whip cracking and fucking just horrible jokes, but I also want to touch on the subject, show that there's like humanity behind these individuals that may have been subjugated historically, and I guess I want to do it with tact, and I don't want to like man, it's kind of hard to describe on point like this. I just want to make sure that I'm doing this in such a way that like we can get a little uncomfortable with it, but for this goal of achieving like good storytelling in the end of it.
Okay, let me ask you something. Flat out. What's more important to you? What are you willing to sacrifice? The story or player's comfort? It can be on a scale. Like, you can give me a percentage, but what's the priority range?
I would think that majority is, of course, story. I want everybody to enjoy themselves, but as the DM, like that's kind of my forte. Is I like to kind of push buttons, and it's not necessarily just this one subject. We've done it for other things as well. And my players, they're intelligent. They know the difference between like somebody being like very hateful and just kind of what would be the right word for it, like just being real nasty about it, and somebody who's trying to like coax a meaningful story out of what is tragedy, essentially.
Okay. My second piece of advice then. So the first piece of advice, the core, is to know where that line is. That is essential. The second piece of advice I have for you, because it seems like you really want to like skirt the line. You really want to push, because you said the words you used were like, I want to push the boundaries, I think was
for sure. So
my second piece of advice for you is I want you to be ready. I want you to plan for what to do when you, I'm not going to say inevitably cross the line, but I want you to have in your head, like, because some of the things that may get close, like some of the scenarios that you're setting up that may cause problems. These scenarios. You don't need to be specific, like Yep. So what I want you to do is when you're in those scenarios, I want you to be ready to cross the line. I want you to have a plan in place for when you cross the line. So maybe they're in one of the scenarios and you say something, you say a word, or you do an action that maybe crosses the line. I want you to have a plan in place for what you're going to do when that line is crossed.
Okay.
I want you to be ready for it.
Okay. I can do that.
So some examples would be, I can't remember. I was running something. There's been a few times where I'm like, I don't know how the party's going to take this. So I'll go ahead and plan ahead. Like, what do I say if a problem, like also is this an in-person or online?
It's in person.
All right. So you'll be able to see, like you'll be able to read you should be able to read a room, hopefully. as a DM, like you've hopefully gained that skill over time. A DM of 10 years, hopefully you've gained that skill over time.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to ease into it. I don't want you to do this, but it sounds like you're going to do it. Get close to the line and have a plan for when you accidentally step over it. I don't want you to go crazy, like just Hail Mary across the line. I want you to keep tiptoeing until you finally, or keep tiptoeing until you accidentally, I'm going to say accidentally cross it. And then I want you to have a plan in place for if that happens, not when, if it happens.
And what kind of, like, what would that plan look like though? Like,
I need a specific example. Let's see.
So I can give you a specific example.
No. Let me just think of a hypothetical. Let me just think of a hypothetical.
Sure.
Okay. I love cat pictures. And so so I enter the thieves' hideout and there's a picture of a cat and I love it. And then a bad guy stomps on the picture of the cat and I'm heartbroken.
Okay.
Like the picture of the cat but the frame is damaged. My cat picture. So as a DM, how do I handle this? What would that look like? Yeah, I guess it's done. I guess what's done is done. Like you can't repair it.
Right.
I mean, you could repair it, but you can't take back the action.
That's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
Had to be American history, man.
Trying to think. How do you come back? I guess just I know it's not pretty, but I guess an apology to whoever you finished. Like, so the DM said, "Oh, sorry, I didn't realize this was a line. He didn't crush the cat picture. It's fine." I guess that would be how I'd handle it. It's not clean, but it's I think
right.
Like just a real quick apology and maybe a retcon. Real quick apology and a retcon. I think that's a scenario that works all the way across.
Okay, so then I have the same question but reverse, because as a DM, I feel like I've been doing a really good job touching on these very sensitive subjects and not crossing that line. I just wanted your opinion on it to kind of give me some help. But now in the other direction, I have players at my table who are kind of taking it a little far to the point where they're creating like entire like what would be the right word, like ethnic uprises, specifically against like government and stuff. And should I allow that at the table? Should I let them explore that? Is that too much? I don't know, because it's coming from both sides too, from the DM who's trying to be very careful about these very sensitive subjects to having a player now who's like, I'm going to take it all the way.
Your table sounds eventful. Your table sounds...
Yeah, they're great players, for sure.
If a player... It's only going to be an issue if it bothers you or one of the other players. If it bothers you, that's a talk that you have. So same thing, just like timeout, stop, too far. So there's been a few times, I'm trying to think of a specific example. So, all right, so they cross the line. A player stomps on the cat picture. Hold up, timeout. Actually, I do have a really specific example. I found one of my boundaries. I happened to stumble. A DM happened to stumble across one of mine. Sadly, I didn't realize it was there. We found a hellhound in a cage. We were like in the Underdark, and there was a hellhound in a cage, and it was like rabid, basically. So one of the players decided to put the dog down, and then the DM described it, and I was like, okay, all right, hold on, DM, I can't. I need to, like, I said, all right, DM, look, I got to update my, my trigger sheet. I don't like this. Can we not describe it? I was just like, real quick, can we not do this? And he was fine with it. So yeah, I guess, so in that scenario, the DM would just say, okay, hold on, time out. I don't like this. Like, you use the safety tools if you've got them. Like, hey, I don't, yellow flag, red flag, whatever. I don't like this. Can we skip this part? Like, yeah.
That's fair.
That's
fair.
If it's that's easy. If it's you, that's easy. You're like, okay, this is bothering me. Let's stop. But if it's bothering another player, you're gonna have to know it. You're gonna have to know it, and you're gonna have to communicate. You're gonna have to mediate because you're the DM. So
Communication. That's a good answer, Sam. Thank you.
It is the foundation of the entire game. Empathy and communication. It's literally the game. The game
Absolutely.
The DM is communicating with players. We don't have graphics. We don't have controllers. We don't have keyboards. It's my voice and yours. So
Cool, man. Well, I really appreciate the help.
Hey,
It's pretty insightful. Thank you.
appreciate you coming by.
I'm out of here, man.
Take it easy.
Later.
What a fantastic night. Wow. I wonder if Dr. Doom, I should have asked Dr. Doom if he streams his games. That sounds like an, I don't want to say edgy. It sounds like an edgy table. I need another word besides edgy. That sounds like an interesting game to watch. You do not, but I would really like to get into it. I would stop by. I would watch. I want to see what you're up. I'm really curious. Advice for life hotline. Yeah, you're right. Holy cow, stealing hard topics. I'm telling you, man, chat is like bringing it to, the community's bringing it today. You guys are asking me about finance, philosophy. My goodness. Like really pushing my advice abilities to the test here. But I like it. It's fun. I like these conversations. Absolutely. I love these conversations. Okay, special guest Goose. Dungeon Master Hotline. How can I help you? Hello?
Is this thing on?
I hear you now.
Hello?
Hello.
All right. Sorry. All right. So I've just been pondering this question for a bit. And basically, I'm pondering the plausibility of like a completely character-driven like campaign. There's like no final end goal that the party has to do. There's like no directions that I give them as a DM.
Mm-hmm.
It's just parties, characters, and what they want to do. And that's like basically the campaign is. It's like I just put them in the world and they go like explore it or something.
Okay. So what's your question? You need advice on how to build that, or is there anything specific about that you're looking for?
Advice on how to build that would be good. I just don't know if I'm ready to do it because I haven't been DM very long.
Okay. I guess I'll start with a question. Why do you want to run that kind of game? Let's see what you're looking for first before we start diving into these open world type games. What do you want out of it? Or why is this the route you're choosing?
Well, because the last two times I tried to do like a plot-based campaign, I didn't really like. It was like unsatisfactory for me.
Okay.
And I don't know. I just think that like this would be interesting.
It would be interesting. What went wrong with your plot-driven game?
Right. All right. So the first campaign that I did, I canceled because it was the first time I was ever DMing, and there were scheduling issues, and it didn't really turn out that well. And then the second campaign, I kind of rushed the ending, and it was very unsatisfying for all parties.
Okay. Was there any more to it? So because what I'm hearing is I rushed a campaign and it wasn't satisfying, so now I'm going to run an open world game. It's kind of what it, or I'll say,
Yeah,
I'll
pretty
use your
much.
words, player driven game. Okay. Okay. I mean, it's not a bad reason. All right. So the difference. So there is a religious sect, a cult built around open world, player driven campaigns. And from my experience, they are difficult. And the reason, and this cult that I'm referring to that prefers open world, player driven games, DM, keep your hands off. DM, like, I don't need a plot. Campaign modules are the devil. It's just a railroad. I hate it. The thing that these people don't want to acknowledge, or maybe even don't even realize, is that in open world, every game, every single campaign, every game that you play in, whether it's open world, railroad, theme park, a module, needs to be carried by one person. One person. And I know lots of people are going to say, well, but my player agency. The thing is, if all of the players aren't on board for one objective, for a single objective, whether that be the module, the DM's plot, or the party leader, then everybody in that party is going to go in different directions. Example.
All right.
I'm the DM. I'm leading the things. I'm going to run this module. I'm going to run Curse of Strahd. Here's the premise. Draw up a character. Let's play it. The other example, I'm going to run an open world game. Here's the world. Have fun. Your party. So where does the party go? Where do you, like, hypothetically, where does the party go? Maybe the wizard wants to open a magic shop. Maybe the rogue wants to go to the Thieves Guild. Maybe the fighter wants to go to war. You can't do all of these things at once. So one person is going to have to pitch an idea that the entire party has to get on board. The entire party has to move together. Otherwise, it's just 4 single player games happening. The entire party has to move together as a unit and do things together as a unit, or you're playing 4 single player, or you're running 4 single player games. And so the question comes down to who decides where the party goes. Is it the DM? I'm running this module. Is it the party leader?
Right.
Let's go open a magic shop. Is it the rogue? Let's go to the Thieves Guild. Somebody's got to decide. And it doesn't have to be the same person throughout the campaign, but in order for the party to move in a direction, somebody has to choose the direction. And you can't rely on the entire party to decide. Thoughts?
Yeah. I understand your message, so I think like giving them some options to like start out with, and then building like future options based on the actions and consequences of their choices throughout the game would be like how I keep the party like together as like a group, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And, like,
I mean, that would be...
If any one of the players like has a character arc that they would like to see fulfilled, then trying to work that in as well. I don't know.
That's a regular game. That sounds like a regular game.
It does.
That is it. So yeah, that's a typical. So you as the DM are going to have a couple of options for them. Like, okay, there's somebody was kidnapped in the woods. There's a cave doing bad stuff. Bandits are hijacking, whatever. So yeah, so you give them some options, and that's, I mean, in my opinion, that's like you as the DM. I mean, that's a theme park game. So I guess some people would call that a railroad. I think any amount of prep when the DM does any amount of prep, it becomes more railroad the more prep you do. I think there's degrees of railroad. I'm gonna start ranting about the railroad conversation, so I'm gonna stop there. To help you with your open world game, the best thing that you can do is lean on you're gonna need to improv. You better get good at it too, because if it's an open world game where the players are just going all over, doing what they want, you're going to need to, you can't prepare for that. Like, you can't prepare for everything. Because there's going to be one time where like the cleric is like, oh, is there a church of Asmodeus here? And you're going to be like, man, I didn't, that's not in my notes. Sure. You need to be ready for that. You need to be ready for that kind of stuff. So get good at improv.
Mm-hmm. All right, then.
Other than that, prepare. Know where stuff is. And put stuff there.
Yeah.
Put interesting stuff there. Because a sandbox is boring if there's nothing to play with.
Exactly. All right, then.
What else you got? Do you need me to elaborate on anything? Or did that answer your question? Like nobody's waiting, so feel free to... What else you got?
That, like, answered my question. All right, then. I don't really have anything more, so... what's another question? Okay, no, this is the only other question I got, so I'm just gonna ask it.
Go for it.
Is like the disjoint is like having a bunch of ideas that are like disjointed, like in your experience, like fun?
Give me an example.
All right, so basically, my homebrew D&D setting, which I want to run this campaign in, is just a bunch of ideas that I've had that have just slam dunked together into this whole package, built on the previous campaigns that I've had, and I don't know.
Sounds fine. Yeah, absolutely. What do you foresee being the issue with that?
I don't know. Just
okay, go for it.
I think the issue is that there would be a lack of cohesion between everything, which would like take away the all the fun or something.
It could. At that point, it's your decision to. I mean, how much cohesion is in the world? I mean, how much cohesion exists in the?
Bit.
Give me an example of how it would. I mean, in the real world, like how much. Yeah, give me an example of like the kind of cohesion you think is, or an example of like what may be a problem. Give me a specific example, like, oh, this is going to happen and I don't like it, or this is going on and I don't like it.
The party like saves the village from an attack on the gnolls, and then they go down the road to the next village. And then while they're on the way, they encounter a hag. Where did the hag come from? No one knows. I don't know.
Yeah, sounds fine. Would you,
Probably
and you wouldn't be able to...
it.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, I don't think... Look, I'm going to be honest. If your DMing skills are to the point where it's like, the players are asking, wait a second, it doesn't make sense for a hag to be here. Like, I think you're doing pretty well for yourself. If there's like some continuity errors that the players are starting to notice, I would call that a win, because that means the players are paying attention and they're like invested in your story. Just try to be ready for it. Like, man, I would celebrate the fact that players are paying so much attention that they notice things like that. Like, hey, wait a second. How did a hag get here?
All right. Okay.
But yeah, just planning. Cohesion, like creating a cohesive world based off of all of these pieces that you have. Like just creating the connector. Like the connectors don't have to be that strong. So
yeah,
just prepare. Just work on those connectors. Like work on how to connect things.
Okay then. Well, thank you. I don't really have any more questions, so I'm probably just gonna go.
Okay.
Thanks for the conversation.
Sure.
It's been a real big confidence boost.
Good.
And thank you very much.
You have a good one, bud.
You too.
I second that, Sam. Have the players question certain stuff and try checking up on the lore in the libraries. Something was said about hags. What was it? Just like trying to create a cohesive world. Would a young blue be too difficult for a party of 5, level 3? Depends on how you run it. Depends on how you run it. Anything, a party of anything could beat anything with the right scenario. All right, last one for the night. Here we go. They are muted. I'll wait till they unmute to introduce. I'm going to go ahead and private. Where's my properties? Oh yeah, I got to click the cog. I'm going to go ahead and private the waiting room. And yeah. Last one. Here we go. As soon as they unmute. I mean, maybe they won't. Who is it? I saw him in the chat earlier. Let me see here. Who was it that was asking how to get in? Their name is Aaron Zaire of Dis. Oh, Arash. Arash, that's who it was. That they were in the chat earlier. Arash, you're muted. Or you're deafened and muted. Nathan, what's up, buddy? I saw you pop in, but I was talking to, like, I'm reading chat while I'm talking to the people. I'm just not responding because I don't want to interrupt.
Hello, hello.
Hey, what you got for me?
Hello.
Hey, can you hear me?
Okay, not hearing.
Rip.
Nope. Wait a sec.
You're good, man. How you been, Nathan?
Yes. Can
Hello?
you hear me?
I hear you. Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Welcome. So what do you got for me?
So, my question is pretty simple. I'm thinking of starting to DM online first, starting with a one shot,
Okay.
but I don't know how to start, what things I need to prepare. Like, do I need to read certain book on communication or improv or things like that? And that's basically my question.
Huh.
Don't have a module in mind. Like, I know DM's Guild is a thing where you can search it up and things like that.
Have you played in a D&D game before?
Yes. I'm playing in West Marches style game.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched all 3 campaigns of Critical Role, so I know a lot of the rules just by knowing them, and I'm pretty familiar with some rules and little like how they work with each other and stuff. Like, I'm not at the level of an experienced DM of a decade, but I'm decent enough, I think.
Wait, so have you run a game before?
No.
Okay.
I'm planning on running a little like
A one shot.
a one shot, but there is another one that's just a PvE. It's me against four players,
Okay.
and I have the characters that are ready. Not characters. The monsters that are ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
Just waiting until things line up to run it. But yeah.
Well, the best advice that I have for you. So the great thing about starting a new skill is that it's really easy to improve. And DMing is a skill. It's an art, and it is a skill. And the great thing about DMing, and the great thing about skills in general, is your first few levels are the easiest. It's not until you get like proficient at a skill that you have to really start investing. Think like a video game when you level up. Those first, kill a couple of rats and suddenly you're level 5, right? Just keep leveling up. And that's with any skill, just learning the basics. So that's what I want you to focus on. I want you to focus on learning the basics of being a DM. Don't try to do some crazy advanced stuff. I know that you watched 3 seasons of Critical Role, so you probably have like a lot to go off of as far as Matt Mercer's concerned. But find what you enjoy, find your own style. If you enjoy doing voices, do that. But the key thing that you want to do is run the game. Start running games. One shots are great because you can screw those up and it's fine. You don't have to drag out an entire campaign of your mistakes. You can just, okay. Pay attention to what you're doing when you're running your one shot and make note of it. What are you enjoying? What are the players enjoying? And just, be hypercritical of yourself as you're running the game and learning how to DM.
Okay.
And focus on the basics.
Okay. And by basics, what do you exactly mean?
Communicating. Your basic communicating. Getting your point across would be the first one. Understanding what your players want. Would be the rules. The rules are pretty basic. Like that. The rules are something that you can practice. So if you want to improve as a DM outside of the game, like you're not, like when you actively run a game, you're improving as a DM because you're getting experience. But if you want to improve out of the game, reading the rules, reading the monster, reading what you're going to be running, learning the monsters that you're going to be using. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot to this. The more that I try to answer this question, the more I'm realizing like this is a very hard question to answer. Broad strokes, because I could give you the whole list of skills that you could work on. Voices, map making, the rules, player management, communication. There's a lot. So the best advice I have for you is to just practice. Sit behind the DM screen and play. And also playing in games is a great way to learn. What do you enjoy about playing? Do you like the role play aspect? Do you like the combat? Do you like both? Pay close attention to how the DMs are running the games that you're playing in and use those in your own games.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I can do that. Okay. Good. Thank you very much.
All right.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Thank you. I will notify the entire server how it went if it happens.
Okay.
When it happens. Okay. Thank you very much. Until next time.
Have a good one, bud. Oh, my goodness. What a fun night. We had some real challenging questions. That's for sure. What's up, D&Deeds? I like that name. Been a DM for 32 years and wanted to say you were doing a great job. Hey, thanks. 32 years. That's a long time. That is a very long time. I would love to be a better role player as a player, but I'm a better role player as a DM. I have some really specific advice for that one. One, I know exactly what you're talking about. As a DM, if you're better, because as a DM, you're constantly rotating through NPCs. So you have a lot of these one-off NPCs, but when you sit down as a player, you have to focus on one character. I know exactly what you mean. Last game I played in, I was a changeling and I just rotated you're able to rotate characters as a changeling because changeling can just shapeshift at will. So try that. One, I want you to try playing a shapeshifter and let me know what you think. Because I had a blast with it. I would like, because there's a lot of NPCs that I'd run in previous campaigns where I was like, oh, I'm going to bring them back. Right. So I'm just going to shape change into them. Like, oh, here we go. And I communicated that with the DM. I was like, all right, hey, DM, I'm going to play a changeling and I'm just going to like turn into a bunch of characters. And I explained to the DM, like, is the stream ending? Yes, we're about to wrap it up. And I explained to the DM, I was like, hey, I've been DMing for a while, so I'm worried that I'm going to get, like, bored of a single character. So I'm going to play a changeling so I can shape change into different characters. That way it's constantly, I told the DMs, like, that way it's constantly fresh. So I want to be able to just introduce random, like, just be able to randomly turn into characters. So that's kind of like what I'm looking for as a changeling. I want you to be okay with that. So I might just be someone else sometimes. I want you to be okay with that. Was your changing ever in his original form, or was it always someone different? So I took it to the extreme, Dr. Doom. My changeling didn't even know they had an original form. My changeling thought that they were the person that they were impersonating. They in their head, they believed they were that person. As I was playing the character, one of the players sent me to this movie. What is the movie where he has like 23 personalities? What's that movie? Anyway, there's a movie. No, not 23. Not the movie 23. It's a movie. The guy has like multiple personalities. Split. I think it's Split. I think that's the movie. One of the players was like, you should watch the movie Split because your character reminds me of the movie Split. I was like, oh yeah. So I went and watched it. I was like, this is perfect. This is my character. So my character was basically like the villain from Split. Is what I was trying to do without realizing it. So yeah. Changeling. It made me fall in love with changelings. Big time. I am it's one of my favorite playable one of my favorite player races now. I'll definitely play one. Give it a shot. I think that's the perfect species race for DMs because you just get to be other characters sometimes. Like talk to your DM about it. All right, folks. It was a fantastic night. Got to take the puppy out. Potty. Hey, I got a puppy too. I got Homer back here. Look at him. Little boy. He's asleep. I'm going to go give my puppy some cuddles. I feel the same way about Kinku. Kinku is another one. You can do different voices with that one. I don't have the voice acting chops for that one, but yeah. All right, folks. Next week, more DM Hotline. Before we go, make sure you join the subreddit. If you have a DM Hotline question, how about a mask of many faces? That's a good one. What was I saying? Make sure you join the subreddit. If you have a DM Hotline question, post them on the subreddit. If you can't make it for the stream, or for whatever reason I missed your question, or you forgot a question and you want to come back, or you want to ask it, post it on the subreddit, and I'm gonna make videos off of the subreddit. Feed me that content so I can Reddit link command. It should be in the description. It's r/SteelySam. If not, if the link is in the description, r/SteelySam. Okay, folks, I am out of here. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the weekend. Thank you for coming by and chilling. Oh man, somebody just tagged me with a picture of Zero in the Discord. Oh, I love it. All right, folks, have a good night, everyone. Enjoy your weekend. Get some rest. And then tackle the next week. Tackle your next game session with confidence. And I'll see you all next time.